Hello.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Hey.
Hi guys.
Welcome back to everybody. We are live at ARVR Innovate. Delighted that we had such a great session, such a great turnout as well for Alan Smithson there. And thanks, Alan, for continuing to play the audio for us as well. The Let's Get Down to Business, which is the theme of the conference. Now we're talking about the retail and tourism market. I don't know if any of our panel got to hear Alan's presentation, but he went big on retail as part of what he was talking about anyway. So without further ado, and to introduce the panel, I'd like to introduce, and I'm delighted, I want to thank him very much indeed for facilitating, Dr.Ramy Hammady, who is from Solent University. Ramy, the stage is all yours, and thanks for taking charge of this panel. Thank you.
All right, okay, so, right, my name is Ramy Hammady, and I'm working in mixed reality technology in Solent University. I'm also teaching games, but I'm, addicted to these kind of technologies for using in cultural heritage and sometimes tourism. And I would like everybody to introduce themselves, so I'll let you guys start. We can start with Barry.
Thanks so much, Ramy. Alex, thanks very much for the kind invitation. My name is Barry Rogers. I work for Smart Dublin, and I'm the program manager for the new Smart Tourism program for Dublin.
Alan?
Ramy, thanks so much for all your help getting set up, and Alex as well. Yeah, so I'm Alan. I'm the CEO of Plop. We create augmented reality experiences on web and social for retailers and manufacturers around the world.
And Leigh?
Yeah, Ramy. Yeah, I'm returning to ARVR 5 years ago. Alex kindly had me on stage, back in 2016. But yeah, I've been in the world of 3D AR, VR retail for a good part of the last 10 years. And I'm currently with Marxent and heading their operations and the launch of the business in Europe, which, we'll tell you a bit more about later on.
Right, hi everybody. I'm going to ask you a few questions about, your work related to the panel topics. So we can start with Barry. How your work is linked to the panel title today?
Well, so in Smart Tourism, we work in a really broad, through a broad array of different categories. But obviously the most applicable one in this case being tourism. I work as a partner on a project with Fulch Ireland, and we work across four main areas. The first one being digital trails, which has huge implications obviously for augmented reality. We're currently launching a new tender today, which is all about creating digital trails. We work on categories like digital transformation as well, visitor orientation. We have a huge amount of work done in the data area as well. And so it's really a hot topic. And I'm today, my thing is to take in as many ideas as possible and learn as much and bring them back to the program. So that's my big goal for today. So I'll be very interested to listen to both Leigh and Alan on what they've got in store.
Okay, so what about you, Alan?
I suppose looking forward to hearing what everyone else is working on, of course. But I suppose one of the big things that we're focused on is social and appless experiences. We see that as being, I suppose, really key. The AR being more accessible to everyone than ever, and I suppose trying to make it as more accessible as possible on the devices that they already have and on the apps that they already have installed. So that's a real key focus.
Right, and you, Leigh?
Yeah, I think things changed a lot for everyone, right, in the last year or so. But yeah, for us in particular in retail, we were in a nice little position. We were already offering 3D AR, VR experiences for many retailers, the likes of John Lewis, Macy's, Lowe's, in kitchen and bath as well. And it's just to share some of the things that have changed, some of the good things, some of the bad things, and as shoppers, habits have all had to change. There's been a massive shift to online, and if you're online, sometimes you struggle to see those products. So I'll be sharing a bit more about how the consumers have changed and how immersive tech has really helped that in the last year.
All right, so I have a few triggering questions, can open discussion because, I don't have the option to share what I have at the moment, but we can start with questions maybe that can open up some ideas. So I've got some questions from you guys. The first one is how have retailers and consumers used immersive technology since COVID lockdown? From your point of view, you can.
Yeah, maybe. I was leading towards that a minute ago. So so when like March last year, our leading product at Marxent was actually virtual reality in store. So you could go into the store, put the headset on, dream your room, see it in 5 to 10 minutes, have a quick room design for you, and you could be immersed into that room. And that was really helping stores who were struggling to get people excited about the store even before COVID. So you can imagine the appetite for putting on a headset quickly went downhill, even if you were allowed into the shop. I'm not sure when that will come back, but we then shifted, and our number one product was our online 3D technology. So you can go online, and maybe if we can show the video in a bit, no worries if not, but you can actually self-serve and design your dream living room, your new office space. And with everyone thinking about how to reinvent the home in the last year, from barbecues outdoor to office space to kids, it's quite a big challenge for people at home to how do I make the most of this space, and they weren't able to go to the store. So things like being able to see your furniture at your home through an AR experience, or design your new office space / bedroom on a planner and on John Lewis, or even with a John Lewis colleague. So there was a lot of things came out of here, just like we're doing now, and using technology to collaborate instead of doing this event in person. Retailers are using visual tech to co-create and help shoppers make a better decision on the products that they're dreaming of. Yeah.
From my side, I believe once the lockdown started in the UK, lots of students cannot apply to the university or cannot attend the open days as one of the most important days for recruiting students. That makes a drop down in numbers, actually. So I thought, because I have experience, especially with mixed reality and holography kind of things, like using Microsoft HoloLens and this kind of meta glasses. I came up with an idea with building an application for, to be used in HoloLens. I know HoloLens is still not used well. So I started to use and build an application that can bring one of the student ambassadors to people, at home. So basically, that they will come as an avatar and speak to them in their homes. But we're still limited with the devices. But it just came up with the idea, and maybe in the next few years, once the smart glasses will be like this glass, people can wear it and open the application and get some kind of agents can speak to them in their homes. In that case, if the case of the COVID still continues, which is something we don't need. Anyway, so the idea was just to build this character inside their homes, and the design was inside, the living room, so they can appear, and start to speak about the university and courses, and bring up some 3D models. I was marketing maritime courses, so the idea is to bring. I hope I can show you a video. So this person can bring some kind of yachts and spin it around and show the design, explode it, talking about specific interesting points, speaking about the university. So it's about bringing some agents inside, students' homes, potential students. And that was one of the ideas I came up with. Maybe can be used when the hardware, starts to spread out. But this is a main question I will ask later. Anyway, so I want to hear from Barry and Alan. What do you think, guys? How this immersive technology sustained in the COVID time, or whatever the technology, regardless.
I'll go first. Yeah, so it's really interesting to come to it from a non-technical background necessarily. Like, my background is in tourism design, so I can kind of speak to how the tourism industry has coped with all of this. And it really kind of touches off what Leigh said. It's like, what happens when you're compelled to innovate, and specifically compelled to innovate in immersive tech, like because of COVID-19. And that's exactly what's happened to the tourism industry across the world. So prior to COVID-19, tourism industry is doing incredibly well, and immersive tech at this point is really seen as just kind of like a nice to have, as like an add-on for your tourism experience, your destination, as a way of selling yourself. Like we saw it, if you were at ITB Berlin in 2018 or 19, you would have seen Tourism Ireland demoing augmented reality or virtual reality headsets as part of their offering, and that's really kind of the point that we had gotten to. And then COVID hits, and all of a sudden you have to figure out a way to digitize your entire tourism offering almost overnight, as a way to both sell your offering and potentially have an experience for your guests and for your visitors as well. So this has happened completely across the entire tourism industry, from aviation to museum development and museum experiences. So we're seeing the fruits of that right now. We're seeing all of this innovation that's happened in immersive tech in the last year across the tourism industry, really having completely pushed the industry forward 5 to 10 years, which is fantastic for us. And so it's been a huge accelerator, specifically in the tourism industry, in terms of immersive tech. We're seeing it now just in terms of like applications we're helping design. We're learning all the mistakes of stuff we did 5-10 years ago, and we're now applying it into some of kind of the best practice design that we can. So we're trying to create applications for the visitor that will be not only relevant next year, but relevant in the next 3 to 5 years as well. And now the result of COVID-19 being that we now have more information and more inspiration to pull from across the entire travel industry. So for us in travel, obviously COVID-19 has totally decimated the industry. One of the silver linings of that has been we've had to innovate, and we now have more better tech and immersive tech options. But I'm more interested to kind of hear what Alan has to say. To be honest, I'm taking notes, so I'll pass over to him.
Over that very but no, it's I mean, from the start of COVID, like last March, I suppose it was really when we saw things kind of kick off here, I guess, in terms of a transition. But like we saw our usage triple overnight for all of our customers in terms of people using the technology, people going online first, you know, customers who their priority would have been to, you know, drive 5 miles and walk into the store and, you know, have a look and have a touch and have a feel. We're now forced to go online and thankfully come down our funnel. So we saw a lot of our usage triple from that. Was interesting as well. Like we're seeing retailers kind of prioritize their budgets for us too, in you know, moving away from as you said, Barry, like moving from a nice to have to a need to have. Really seeing that in terms of a budget prioritization thing, as well as we're really getting pushed ahead of Google ads for some of our customers, you know, say like, oh no, we need this. It's just it's a real priority for them. You know, it's definitely, before it was that kind of like cutting edge, let's run a PR piece, let's see what this looks like and, you know, dip our toe in the water. Whereas now it's like, you know, this is the new medium. We need to have 3D.
So guys, to what extent do you think web apps, you know, this question is about web apps, you know, or, you know, native apps, you know, it's a bit off topic, but I think it's somehow related. So to what extent do you think web app vs native app mix will change into the future? If the future will be web apps or instead, maybe?
I think an interesting one with native apps is like the new compact apps that are kind of coming out with iOS and Android. I think has had them for a while, but the ability to download apps quickly, like full needing to, let's say, go to the app store to fill out your whole details, you know, sign into your account and do that. So I think that kind of blended appless to app solution, I think is really interesting. So I don't know if anyone else is working on those, but it will be it'd be interesting to hear your guys' 2 cents on those. I'm pretty sure it's called compact apps, so if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we've had a lot of we've really thought a lot about this in the program, because we're going out to tender for app design, and we've been having this debate back and forward about, you know, web versus native constantly, and we're at a really interesting point now where So for example, for digital trail development, there's a really straightforward kind of project example that we're working on. Web app is kind of really starting to catch up, and it's more and more common now that you can develop web app with AR functionality, which is brilliant until you kind of turn around and ask like a developer to produce it, and then you can kind of get into issues around issues around supporting augmented reality. So for us, we're kind of constantly going back and forward. Like the consumer is kind of now just expecting web app, and if you're a small scale museum, it's much easier to build a web-based app and just have a QR code or have a simple link, rather than having a direction to the app store, which is just putting another barrier in between you and your kind of customer. So for us, we're kind of not a nod to web app potentially being the future across the board, but we've definitely still got a foot in native app design for most of our bigger projects. But I'm interested to see what kind of thoughts you guys have on your side of the fence.
Yeah, I guess it's app clips, I think is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, sorry, Leigh.
No, we've been dabbling, with the idea of app clips and what we can do with those experiences. It's interesting, Barry. We go back and forth with this on a retail point of view. Web AR, I'm a big fan of that frictionless journey, the fact that you wouldn't have to download an app. But then there's a lot of retailers that really are quite proud of the app, and consumers use the app. So it's actually a golden nugget to try and hook them in to download the app and use the app and stay in the app. Interesting. I don't know. My boss was saying the other day, he was speaking to Google. We have a nice partnership there, or we're on Google Cloud. And they were saying with Web AR, only 30% of the people that click actually allow the camera to be used. So there is obviously some confusion on, like, of course, we know the difference, and I'm sure a lot of people on listening today, but it seems like consumers, if they've clicked launch like an AR experience and then they're not allowing the camera to be used, it sounds like there's a bit of education there, and maybe consumers aren't ready for that. And then there's benefits, like you said, app clips, or with LiDAR technology, and maybe an app experience could open up more features or benefits. But web AR would hopefully the way to go from a frictionless and that management cost to manage that. There's a lot of work that goes there, and we provide an SDK for retailers because they don't want to get involved in that. That's what we're seeing.
Sorry guys, now the sharing screen is working, so I don't know if you want to, I can give you guys a few minutes so you speak about, what you have at the moment, so we can go back to the questions again. Can you check if the sharing screen is working in yours?
For me, I'm happy for anyone else to fire away ahead of that.
Yeah, can you go for it, please? Yeah,
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So hopefully you guys can see.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So ultimately what we were trying to do is basically get to the stage where you can upload just a few photos of your products or take them via an API. And what we're working on internally is machine learning algorithm to automatically translate that into 3D content and then deploy that applessly on the web. And also what we're doing with a lot of our clients is also transitioning that onto social, into AR experiences in Facebook and Instagram as well. So that's kind of enabling us to basically turn photos into 3D models using machine learning, and to really speed up the onboarding cost, reduce the speed up onboarding and reduce the cost of 3D model creation, which I'm sure if anyone's done here, it can be a bit of a headache. And essentially what we've done is proven that OBJ files can be created from just even a single product image that's like, super low resolution. And that allows our designers to automatically use that as a wireframe for them to texture. So it really helps speed up the process. Ultimately, like kind of our machine learning approach, again, is just basically takes a few photos, anywhere between 1 and 5 photos, creates some specific data around like estimating camera parameters with that, then feed that into our machine learning model, and hey presto, out comes a 3D file at the end. So like just look at some of the files that we would have designed and launched on social. So these would be like very small file sizes, like sub 4 megabyte file sizes. So it's interesting to kind of see the quality of textures you can still get with maintaining a decent file size for social, as much as my designers yell at me for such a small requirement. But yeah, that's kind of what we're working on at the moment, trying to scale through machine learning, and enable our designers to work quickly by being enhanced with ML.
Wonderful, Alan. I think this is a fabulous, because the file size is a big matter for us, actually, and that might even extend beyond furniture. It could be anything else, from teaching side. That would be great, to visualize these kind of things from few pictures. Yeah. So guys, what do you think about that? Sorry. Yeah, Barry, would you like to start with your slides?
Have a go at sharing now. You might let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, let's see it.
Does that work?
We're good, yeah.
Great. Okay, you guys are going to get the whistle-stop tour. I'm not gonna go into all the details on the Smart Tourism program, but what I might do is, just because we're on the topic, I'm going to go down into the digital trails specific part of our program, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the work we've done in auditing digital trails, collaborating with other destinations, and specifically I'm going to talk about a tender that we released yesterday for one of the biggest, probably the biggest digital trail tender, certainly in Ireland to date. So just briefly before I do, just the current work streams that we're working on that would all have an involvement of immersive tech design. So the Smart Tourism program runs over 2 years and across these 4 categories. So tourism trail design is one of the biggest ones, digital trail design. Orientation then is another huge area, how visitors get around your city, how they navigate, how they find out about you. Data assessment then is all about understanding city insights for better tourism planning. And then bottom right-hand corner, very applicable, digital transformation, smart tourism lens. That's where we put all our fun kind of pilot projects, some of which involve augmented reality. I'm just going to go straight down into digital trails, just while we're on the topic. So in Smart Dublin, and especially with our partners, Dublin City Council and Fáilte Ireland, there was this kind of big question mark over digital trails as a concept. So there's lots of interesting destinations doing great work in digital trail design, but because it's exploded massively over the last couple of years in particular, we decided we would prioritize digital trails and try and find out everything we possibly could about them, and try and put it into a kind of a core output of the program. And those core outputs I'll talk about in a minute. Alex is implicated in one of them. And I do want to raise a bit of a profile around the tender that we are releasing as well. So I'm going to talk about that very briefly, because I know there's lots of brilliant designers and developers listening to this. And I am keen that they all apply for this tender as well. So we did 3 big projects on digital trails. We did a digital trail audit of Dublin. We mapped every single digital trail we could find across the Dublin region and built it onto an interactive Google Map based application, which is brilliant for us because it means that as tourism planners, we now have an overview of everyone in the city who's building digital trails, who they are, who they work for, what platforms they're using. And then if we want to build a digital trail, we can just lift the phone and talk to them directly. And this incorporates existing and planned trail development. So that kind of sounds innocuous, but it actually means for us that we can see where digital trails overlap, or where there is unnecessary competition, or where there can potentially be collaboration between digital trail owners as well. So it's a really interesting kind of project that we did, which was basically just desk research, because we could now see, here are all the people building digital trails in Dublin, and it gave impetus for us as smart tourism people to kind of take an ownership of digital trails, how digital trails are designed, and how we can kind of influence best practice in digital trail design across Dublin and Ireland. So this audit that we did really mapped all of these digital trails and kind of gave us inspiration for our next step, which was to design a digital trails toolkit. So as part of this digital trails toolkit, no one has done this yet. So there is yet to be a destination who has released a here's how you build digital trails book. So we decided in Dublin with Fáilte Ireland that we would be the first and we would do it. So we put together an expert working group, and one of those experts is Alex Gibson. And so we're delighted to have that kind of presence behind this. So what is it? Why did we do it? Well, we basically all of these destinations across the world about digital trails. We were looking at who was doing it best. We were trying to learn what were the best components, both digital, non-digital, both technical, non-technical. And we really decided that we needed to write all this down. And so we did. We put it into a 33-page document that will be released next month by Fáilte Ireland. And so hopefully I'll be able to talk about it more when it's out. But there were some huge learnings in this document that are applicable to this conversation. Just before I finish up, some of them are really, really interesting. Like when we were building this toolkit and writing our tender at the same time, we were kind of realizing that there was a couple of big conversations, a couple of big trends happening in digital trail design. One of them was augmented reality. So we wrote that in here. We have a specific chapter on AR and immersive tech to complement digital trail design. Another one was activation. What's the best way to kind of sell your trail, activate it, get people to use it? Another one, which was really, really interesting, which we just touched on earlier, was what's the balance between platform-based design, bespoke design, web-based design, native app design? And so we baked all of that in here as well. I think everyone's probably aware that there's kind of a revolution going on in this space whereby, particularly with digital trails, platform-based digital trail development, obviously where you can just plug and play for a subscription, as a destination or as a museum, is quickly overtaking the traditional bespoke app development route, whereby an organization like us might go out to tender and partner with a developer to build a bespoke platform on which our digital trails live. And so just before I finish up, I wanted to touch on that. And finally, last point is, it's not currently up on eTenders, but it will be very shortly. Yesterday, we published a mobile app for heritage trails tender for Dublin, which is going to be one of the best in class digital trails, certainly in Europe, that will be supported by Fáilte Ireland and Dublin City Council and the Smart Tourism Programme for Dublin as well. So I'm really keen here to drum up some interest in this. I'd be very interested for as many people to apply for this as they wanted. It will be one of the most interesting and kind of innovative digital trail platforms built in the next couple of years. So that's my whistle-stop tour. I hope it didn't take too long, Ramy. And I'm just going to exit out of this now. So thank you all very much for listening. That's the Smart Tourism Programme for Dublin.
Thank you, Barry. It seems to be very comprehensive, strategy. And I'm somehow linked with the Heritage app because I have done something similar, but in a smaller scale as experimentation. But I'll share that later. We kind of start with Leigh, and then we'll follow up.
Yeah, Barry's got me thinking now. My wife's in tourism, so and she was a tour guide, so struggling to get her back out there at the minute. But yeah, maybe there's a lot we could do in Oxford here on the digital trail. Cool. Right, let's give it a go. Oh wow, look at that. Okay. Right, we've been around for 10 years, Marxent, so it's not like a young startup or anything, more like a scale up. And all these great fancy brands that you see there, some that you recognize, some perhaps that you don't. Some of the largest retailers, department stores, kitchen and bath retailers on both sides of the pond in Europe and in the US. But the difference of what they've all got the similarity that they all have is that they're now thinking about immersive tech and 3D, not as, we'd really like to do a VR project, or some executives got a big excitement about AR. So there's an innovation budget there to do an AR experience. They're all actually thinking about, we believe in 3D, we believe in immersive experiences and that they're not going to disappear. And we're looking for a platform. So we're thinking, how do we invest in one 3D model and a platform that can do all these different experiences when they're ready and when they're mainstream to drive some ROI? And that's really what Marxent is helping a lot of these retailers to do today. And the big thing in the last year and even before that was, how can we help retailers to sell not just products online, but how do we help them to sell collections of products or an entire route? So something that people perhaps wouldn't have the confidence to do before, design a kitchen and then buy it online. That's now happening in some of Marxent's solutions, which we're very proud about. And that's testament to all the great tech out there with immersive 3D, to giving consumers confidence that they're making the right decisions and they're not having to send things back. And yeah, they're happy to transact on a 5K order in the basket online, which I guess a few years ago would never happen. We wouldn't dream of doing. So retail is already going that way, which I think is great news. I'll tease a couple of videos because I mentioned it earlier. This will help connect the dots on what I was talking about with John Lewis. So you can book an appointment with John Lewis, a virtual appointment, and I'm glad now stores are open again, so you can also book one in the store. And John Lewis is all about the people and the service as well. So the ability to work with someone inside the store or on an online appointment, and they can just quickly draw, very gamified, very fun. We use photos a lot in all of our experiences. We found that consumers get a bit confused by catalogs and finding products, but if you put a photo in front of them or Pinterest, they'll say, you know what, I want that photo in my room. So this can be used as a self-serve tool as well. We're having some consumers spend days of investment on these experiences and then buy in, and you can see now why the confidence to perhaps you're only just looking at that sofa and you came to check out the sofa and how it's going to fit against the paint in your room or the flooring. And then before you know it, you've chucked the rug in and the side chair, and you're thinking about putting in a mirror there or a picture like you're seeing there. So it's just helping people with visually space, like, is it going to fit? But then it's like visually, how's that going to look? And we can do high definition renders as well. So you can get a real sense and confidence before you buy. So that's one I wanted to tease on. H&I is the third largest office manufacturer and retailer. I didn't actually know them. We also have Herman Miller as well. But they do all sorts, from being able to design the office. You think about space is a big discussion point now, and how we get back to the office. So being able to quickly design an office space, and then they were a manufacturer, but now thanks to this tech, they're actually going direct to consumer. So they're offering the consumer, and this is like a light version of the room planner. So instead of designing everything, you can just swap a few products in and out of a set scene, change the background, just a light room planner. Mentioned pictures. Lowe's is a great example where they're literally putting hundreds and thousands of photos and connecting to Pinterest. So who knows, like, if you're going to design a kitchen probably once, maybe twice in a lifetime, you're not going to invest in knowing all these category products and the little, I don't know, niche buzzwords of a kitchen that a kitchen designer would know. But what you can do is just start dragging cabinets and products from photos, because that's what we understand, the brain understands, and people just want to have a play. And then we spoke about web AR from configurators and fireplaces. So a real whistle stop on some of the applications out there today in different ways that retailers are working with consumers.
Yeah, thank you, Leigh. It's very awesome because you picked the right time that people can't go, to see the right scale of these, pieces, and they can't imagine the spaces, and they can't, get things together in one place. I think that's really amazing. I was fascinated when I saw that, because I think that fulfills lots of needs at the same time, in the right time as well. So thank you, guys. I'm going to share mine. So just get quickly, hopefully you can get that. Building AR apps and mixed reality, the most important technology I'm focusing at. especially in museums. But now I sweat to, you know, change it to something related to, you know, marketing and stuff like that. So at the, you know, in 2016, I built a mobile app for Leeds Museum as experimentation. And, you know, at that time, there is no any kind of platforms like, you know, iOS or, you know, these kind of apps that can imagine the space around and get the spatial mapping and get exactly where is the location. So I had to use several technologies, you know, such as this one, for example. If you know the beacons, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, so basically I put some beacons around, you know, and these beacons connected somehow to the tablet, and then, you know, it's identify the location of the visitor and give him all of the information needed. And that has been applied in Egyptian Museum in Cairo. So because I had lots of troubles with getting the right location indoors, and especially in different floors, but I think now things became much better in getting an accurate location. And then I switched it to HoloLens kind of apps, and I built a mobile HoloLens application for museums. And the first one I started with Egyptian Museum in Cairo, especially with Tutankhamun collections. So I built some kind of scenery, you know, like battles the king start to go through. I turned the space of the museum into be like, you know, a temple, and the temple with pillars and people, you know, soldier around, and some scenery, you know, happens like battle, you know, the king and, you know, some soldiers trying to, you know, fight with enemies and stuff like that. And there are some other scenes as well that, you know, that can, you know, make people more engaged with the content. So the king himself started to appear as an avatar and start to speak about, you know, the discovery of the tomb, you know, gods, you know, how he ruled the country, how many years, you know, and start to use some kind of additional infos around. And whenever you're walking in the museum, you can get some kind of like, you know, more explanations to the piece you are interested in. So once you go closer to one of the interesting pieces, the king again rises again, you know, next to the piece and starts to, you know, explain what is it, how's that related to himself. And then you can give that as a virtual replica of the piece. You can see it and start to, you know, get a sense of moving the space by your hand and get more information about it. You know, you can play games, you know, discover secret points, and also you can get more additional information, such as, you know, like a bigger label instead of the smaller one. So I was working as well on getting that as a shared experience. And now with the favor of getting HoloLens 2 and supporting the shared experiences, people can actually talk, you know, and play games together, discover things together, and that could make the museum more interesting. Because the main problem was that people are spending less time in museums, and now, you know, people can't go to museums, maybe later, but that at that time there is no COVID. But I believe somehow this kind of technology can help people to bring it back into museums again. Anyway, so that was actually the application I have done. Hopefully you can see this video. So basically you can actually interact with the rail and get some images. You know, you can see some images how this chair has been discovered in the tomb. You can read the label and you can click on the guide. The guide, actually the king himself, was in a lower quality, as you can see. Maybe in the future, you know, we can get higher quality, you know, for the characters to be more realistic. So that basically was the application. I've run that into Egyptian Museum in Cairo, and also was a small demo in Manchester Museum as well. All right, and yeah, that was I experimented the system on one of